Welcome to the Bastrop Podcast. Real people, real stories, all from right here in Bastrop, Texas. I'm your host, Matt Walker, a local business owner, realtor, and entrepreneur with Wisdom House Realty Group and Bastrop Drone and Media Company. We sit down with the locals, shaping our community, from the mayor's office to Main Street shops, and bring you the voices behind the town we call home. I am sitting down this morning with Perry Lowe. Thank you so much for joining us, Perry. How are you doing?
I'm well. Can't complain.
Awesome. Can you share a little bit about yourself, your family, and your history in Bastrop?
Yeah, I was born and raised here, and I went to school here, graduated high school here. My great-great-grandmother used to live right on 1108 Pine, right over here, and that's where I was born and raised. My mom went to Emil, the all-black school, in the 60s. She graduated from there, so I have three brothers. One passed away, but my other two brothers are living, and we've all graduated high school here together. I've been other places and made lives everywhere else, but I always came back to Bastrop because it was home and it always felt comfortable.
Nice, that's cool to hear. You have so much family history in this space.
Yeah, and it keeps me coming home, and that's why I'm really passionate about what's done in here in Bastrop, because this is where I'm going to be. As I always say, this is where I'm going to be laid. So I would be out, and I would be on the hill out there in the cemetery. So, what
has your journey been like that led you to join the Bastrop City Council?
This was a culmination of about a 6 or 7 year decision. And I was on the phone just outside with the person that spurred that in me. We always talk politics. Me and my brother always talk politics. And we had a great discussion about things. He said, man, you're pretty sharp on some things, man. And, when you gonna run, run for what? He's like, city council. I'm like, no, man. I said, some overtures to join planning and zoning. And he's like, no, man, just don't do that, man. Just go ahead and do council. So I sat on it for 6 or 7 years, and then just looking at the disposition of the council recently, it spurred that in me, like, okay, I can heal some wounds and maybe make some connections back with the school district. We know people there, and the county, we want to always work in those places. So I thought I could be a bridge to that, have some meaningful conversation, and we can get some work done.
Nice. Can you explain what your role is in the local Bastrop government council and the projects that you're working through?
Well, yeah, we are in charge of ordinances, public safety, zoning decisions. We look at that. Also, where our future land use, we have to be good steward to that and make sure that we have a good plan in place, and we stick to that plan. There may be some modifications, but we want to just meet on with the developers and other people on their terms, and then we can kind of make a decision working together. We do a lot of that. We are working on a few things. We have new developments that are coming up that we need to look into and work with developers on that. So we've got a lot of different things going on. It's quite extensive, but we're a functioning good council now, and we have a good communication. So we work through all those problems pretty much seamlessly.
I'm curious, what kind of developments are coming that aren't currently in the city limits but are looking to be added into the city limits?
We're still dealing with the colony. That's going to be something that's down the road. I think that's a 10-year deal for us. Also, right, and not outside of Bastrop, but, the crossings at 95, development out of Steel Yard across from the high school. We've had good talks with those developers because in those kind of situations, we really can't tell them what to do, but we would hope that they would be open enough to listen and match what we want and how we want Bastrop to look. And they've done that so far. So the crossings at 95 is a good one. There's a lot of different things coming on, new developments, Ironwood, we're still dealing with Adelton and all that stuff. So, yeah, we've got a lot going on.
Nice. Can you share about your musical background and how it has influenced your communication style or interactions with the local community and on the council?
Yeah, it started when I was 13, and we had a talent show, and we performed with my brother and some other guys from high school. And we had a good performance, and I got bit by the bug at that point, So I started looking into writing music and production. It was pretty simple then. You had samplers, so you could kind of cheat, and then you can build things from there. But yeah, I started music here, 13 years old, first gig. It was at Maxine's. It used to be called Toucans. And the drummer didn't show up for the second set, so
he just left halfway through?
He disappeared, man. So I was out in the yard playing with my brothers, we just hanging out, and, he comes like, hey, I say, hey, Doke, how you doing, man? Hey, man, can I talk to your dad real quick? I said, yeah. So he walked in and said, "Hey, Mr. Lowe, my drummer's missing. Can I borrow your son to come down and play drums?" So I said, yeah. So he said, yeah. So I went down there, and of course I was 13, and it kind of got late at night, but TABC would always come through. So I always, when they knew that they were coming, they would usher me out the back, and they handed me like $150 and some food. And I was like, dude, you can make a living doing this? I didn't know. So that was the journey. So then later on, we signed a record deal in California with a group called Brown Eyed Soul. And we were on the same label as, I think, Cheap Trick, Sublime, and at that time, Salt and Pepper. But we really got shelved on that deal. We weren't really a significant band. We were kind of in on a little side deal. So that worked out, but it got a lot of experience into the industry. And then years later, I got into radio. So I did radio production, voiceovers, all that stuff. So that's a bug I've been bitten by too. I'm definitely looking to get back into that. But and then now currently I'm with Chubby Knuckle Choir and producer, writer, arranger, founding member. So, and it just, you're comfortable when you start performing in front of people. It's not so much an act, but it's so much that you're getting comfortable with people staring at you and being in front of people. So I don't really mind that at all. And that's helped me on my journey, being comfortable on council, in front of people, no nerves or anything like that. It's just, making sure I have my information correct.
That's a really cool just to hear that journey that started so young and evolved from there. Back in college, I was in a tiny little coffee house band playing guitar and whatnot. We did like one CD that is probably not on the internet anywhere anymore.
It's not moratorium, is it? It's got to be out there somewhere. I got to hear that, man.
I think we have a copy of the CD somewhere.
Oh, I got to hear it, man.
But it's cool to see how that all went with you. That's a really cool story.
Yeah.
I like it. So you've spoken about intentional growth. Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you and for the Bastrop community?
It's there again, like the crossings at 95. Some of those, we don't really control it. That's their property about it. They can do whatever we can suggest. But the intentional growth there is hoping to have a two-way conversation with developers, understanding how we want the city to look. We have a future land use map. This is how we really want the zoning and everything to stay. And then we work within those. That's the intentional growth. To put it frankly, we're not the last girl that gets asked for to the prom anymore. People are coming here and they're wanting to do business here. So if that intention is there, they should be more amenable to that give and take. And we disagree on some things and we agree on some things. But again, at the crossings at 95, I have to say that they've done a great job in listening to the people. We've had a couple of town halls, and that's another thing. We want to get it in front of the people so these developments don't spring up on people and they're kind of like, oh, I didn't know this was coming. We want to make sure that developers and us as a council are letting people know what's going on. So just stuff that doesn't surprise them on there. So that's the intentional growth, communication with the citizens and with the developers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what are your top infrastructure priorities right now?
Roads, streets. We have, I live on the north end of town, and the streets there, man, you need a tank to get through some of these streets. But we're addressing that. And that's the main thing, the roads. Also to minimizing risk of flooding within development. And that's always a concern, where we don't want to push any pressure on Gills Branch anymore. So we haven't found solutions for that. So the flooding is one thing, and definitely the streets. I think that's the first thing that we can really handle, and we are handling pretty soon. So look out for some changes there in the streets. Maybe some inconveniences, and we apologize for that in advance of parking and everything like that. But what it all boils down to is better streets and a better ride, and you don't have to use a tank to get through the city.
And I've noticed they've even done that kind of spray top over some of the roads already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's to kind of seal and make sure that things stay together, because roads have a shelf life, and you want to try to extend that as much as possible so we don't have to come back here in like 5 years or 2 years.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Can you talk about the Colorado riverbank stabilization? How are you approaching the riverbank stabilization and flood resilience along the Colorado, and what outcomes matter most to you?
We're looking into it as far as getting infrastructure there or pieces there to stabilize it, because if you can go down there, there's just a lot of erosion and we don't want it to creep back. So we're trying to mitigate that because the Colorado is one of our attractions, and people like to utilize that, and it would be a shame that you can see it if you go under the underpass as you walk through the park. You can see it creeping back a little bit towards. So we want to make sure that is stabilized, because that would be awful. But if that thing just collapsed in there. So we definitely are looking at that, and that's really key in the quality of life aspect of the park. You know what I mean? So
Is it still pretty early days, or are there potential solutions that have been brought forth so far?
there's potential solutions that's been brought forth. It looks like it's coming pretty soon, but it looks like the decisions are being finalized, and the best way to do it.
Gotcha. What are the city's concerns with the Austin's aquifer storage and recovery work in Bastrop County, and what guardrails would you need in place before even starting to support any partnership?
Yeah, that's been one that's been kind of baffling for me. If it wasn't actually for Representative Gertis inquiring about that and letting us know, it would have happened. And it is a storage project. It's just basically like a savings account, is the way they explained it. And we have this water in here into our wells, and we store it, and we just use it for a rainy day. And I have two concerns with that. One, we don't know what's getting in the water. There's no way to wall off this certain molecule. All this, you can't do it. And the second, three big concerns. The second big concern is that using people's wells. I mean, what if we need the water? Does that make a shortage for us here and the people that, have rights to the water? So we want to definitely look into that. And, if they can't really give assurances on that we have, I'm apt to turn the other cheek on it. And also, too, is eminent domain. Are you going to take people's property? They said willing, but is that just a suggestion? You know what I mean? So we don't want people's land to get taken. And that is the main thing that's fired me up during this whole process. So I don't know if they'd have came early in the process and gave us a seat at the table, possibly. But it kind of was done under the cover of night, and that was along with TCEQ. We're just looking at definitely against it, because we don't have any assurances. So that's my main thing. Three things: just contamination, well levels, and finally eminent domain.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of risk for the citizens of Bastrop. As far as I've been able to tell, no real upside, no benefits for the people of Bastrop.
No, it definitely doesn't have a benefit. And Councilmember Kirkland was asking about that, and that was a great point.
I had one of our realtor guys sitting with the table back with me, and I think he yelled out from the back. I think he yelled that out. So what's the benefit?
Yeah.
She said something, and then he said, so what's the benefit?
Yeah. That's a question, man. What is the benefit? I couldn't find it. When I'm doing my research, I'm researching pros, cons, everything, and what's the advantages, and
Yeah.
nothing. Got a fat zero on that one.
So council has discussed the role of the Economic Development Corporation. What problems are we trying to solve, and what criteria would guide any changes?
There is a lot an EDC can do for the community, and we really want to make that body work for the people. And so it looks like we're trying to get it into a point where we're doing more things with that and doing more things for the community. So that's really the reasoning behind it. It loosens us up on some things so we can possibly afford some things, and quality of life issues, anything. Affordable housing affordability is what I call it. Because, that's always got a negative connotation when you say affordable housing, and they said Section 8, low income, So housing affordability is, in my mind, doctors, teachers, lawyers, workers that just, trying to make a living and don't have as robust of an account, So, yeah, that's it.
That makes sense. On large concepts like Bastrop West or rezonings such as at crossings at 95, what thresholds like traffic or drainage or parking or fiscal ROI do you need to see to support them?
Well, we're definitely trying to have limits on impervious cover. Again, that's the issue that the South End is facing through what Buc-ee's did. You have a lot of concrete, and I lived on the South End all of my life, a little bit of my adult life, but it never flooded. And after that construction happened, we've seen an uptick in flooding, even swift boat rescues. That's happened. We're trying to hold them accountable on the 50%. We don't want too much concrete anywhere, and they've been amenable to that. Even the development at Pecan that's coming, we want to see some actual drainage where that works, and it doesn't harm Gill's Branch or anything else. We don't want, just to transfer the flooding or anything. It may be set up, but what about the neighbors? So those are the things that we want to see out of that. We just want to have a conversation and come to the table and let them know that we just don't want to deny you or anything like that, but just let's talk about things that matter to the city and our citizens. And I heard it said that it's just a few citizens. I get that, but it's a real deal, though. It's not something that's just somebody's just running up the flagpole to see if they can get a reaction. It's drainage issues, and that's the biggest thing. I just want to make sure that even North End Prairie, we want to make sure that people are not getting flooded or losing property, life, or anything like that. We just want to make sure that's solidified.
Yeah, I remember one of the town halls or side meetings about the pecan development and their solution to allow that water to flow through, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I think what the technology is that they're using is used at baseball stadiums to drain and in that system. And then there's like rock underneath it and certain different things that soaks up the water. But is that a guarantee? Is that going to happen? So that's always the thing. It's always assurances with me, just so I can make sure that the citizens are protected. We don't want people losing property, life, or anything else.
Mm-hmm. How do you evaluate quality of life investments like parks, trails, a potential par 3 golf course against core services when dollars are limited?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think quality of life is important if we can budget it properly. And I think that's what's been done. The budget's been well done enough. We can support both. And we have been. This is even before I got on council, these things were getting into place. So I'm just kind of like, okay. The upgrades of quality of life, I always value quality of life stuff because that's stuff people can do all the time and free stuff and, families getting out, especially like Fireman's Park on the South End. That was always a vibrant, live community. There was always things going on, and I'd like to see it get back to that. A lot of good developments at Delgado, good stuff, 88, stuff like that, where kids can get out. We want to have the community out and involved, so the quality of life stuff is most important to us. As it relates to other services, that's in our mind, but we're going to budget for it, and, we're going to make those things happen as well.
Yeah, I think that's really key to foster just a good city, just the ability to have that interactivity with the citizens to be able to go. And I think on one of the meetings that I saw, there's an eventual plan to have all the parks connected with hiking trails.
Yeah.
And that kind of ability to really utilize all of Bastrop is really cool to me.
Yeah, because it's a beautiful city. And like you said, the interconnection, man, would be great. That would be access to the city, walkability. That's one of the things. And so I think that achieves that.
Even the old iron bridge getting redone, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, I've always been a guy that like water in the river, So, but I always thought that should be highlighted, like not stopping short of a river walk, but, that would also be a great thing that could be done. But, we still got to stabilize things first. So it's kind of, we can't put the cart before the horse. So, but that's going to be nice when you can walk from the bridge and around and almost like a loop.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
If a resident wants to weigh in on a rezoning, a code change, a budget issue, what's the most effective way to be heard and actually influence the outcome?
Show up. I talk about it every time I'm on the dais, and I'll talk about it tonight. I encourage everybody to get involved with these meetings. Call me, call the other city council members, call the mayor, call, if you have, call. My number's out there. Perry Lowe, 618-6995. Just call us. And if I don't know or I don't feel comfortable answering the question, or I may feel that I'm not quite right on this, I'm going to find the answer. So just call. But really, I would like to see, we have some of things on the agenda that the place is full. And when I'm out there looking at that, I'm like, this is what it is. So I always believe, hey, stick around, call and just be involved. So coming up there and calling the city council members and holding us accountable, that's where it starts. So email, phone, but most importantly, I would really like people to show up and then be the present.
So for the listeners who might not know, where can they show up and what days and what times?
We're doing 2nd and 4th, and now we start to do 1st and 3rd. So 1st of the month, and I think that's changing, but please look at the website. Always keep up. My Facebook page is out there. I'm always posting things, agendas. And if you have a question about the time, just give me a call or just reach out. I'd love to talk to you.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's available.
What is 60 seconds of wisdom that you could share with the listeners?
My grandmother always used to say, and I never understood it until she would always say that. She said, understanding beats the world. So understanding is learning something and knowing about it, and understanding people, understanding places and things. So if you have an understanding on things, you can pretty much accomplish anything. So it beats the world. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. So understanding beats the world.
Nice. And then is there anything that we didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
No, that was pretty much it. I like the setup here, and I'm an old radio guy, so radio is always a tempting mistress. So I'm always trying to get back into that game at some point. We'll see what's going on this year. Maybe that'll possibly happen.
Alrighty. So you're saying a Perry Lowe podcast coming out soon?
Maybe, or it may be a little bit more.
All right.
So, but I'd love to talk with you about it.
Okay. All right. Well, Perry, I appreciate you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate you.
This has been great chatting with you, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Man, you too, man. Good to see you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to the Bastrop Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on Instagram at Bastrop Podcast and share it with a neighbor. We're here every week with new conversations from people who make Bastrop feel like home. Got someone you think we should interview? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you.